Do you ever wonder which zodiac signs are the best at telling little fibs? While every sign has its strengths and weaknesses, some are more prone to bending the truth. Today we'll uncover the top 5 zodiac signs that have a bit of a reputation for dishonesty. Let's dive in. Alright, you guys, let's talk about Geminis. Like, are they shady or are they just really good at, spinning a yarn? Geminis are ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, so it's no surprise that they're basically social butterflies. They can talk to anyone about anything and they always have the best stories. But here's the thing. Sometimes those stories are a little too good to be true. Geminis are known for their duality, like they have two sides to their personality, and that can make them a little unpredictable. One minute they're your best friend, and the next minute they're gossiping about you behind your back. It's not always malicious though. Sometimes Geminis just get caught up in the moment and say whatever comes to mind, even if it's not entirely accurate. They might exaggerate a story to make it more entertaining, or they might tell a little white lie to avoid hurting someone's feelings. But the thing is, even when they are being shady, they're just so damn charming that you can't help but forgive them. I have this friend, right, who's a total Gemini, and one time she totally lied to me about going to this concert, she even sent me fake videos and everything. I was so mad when I found out, but then she just gave me this big, innocent-looking smile and was like, "Oh my God, you totally should have seen your face." And I just couldn't stay mad at her. So, yeah, Geminis can be a little slippery with the truth, but that's just part of their charm, you know? They're like the friend who borrows your clothes and forgets to return them, but you still love them anyway. Just maybe keep an eye on your valuables when they're around. Next up we've got Leos, the stars of the zodiac. Leos are ruled by the sun, which is all about, vitality, creativity, and being the center of attention. And let me tell you, these people crave the spotlight like plants crave sunlight. They want to be adored, admired, and worshipped. And they'll go to great lengths to make sure that happens. Now, most of the time, Leos are just being their fabulous selves. They're generous, warm-hearted, and they know how to work a room. But sometimes that need for attention can lead them down a dark path. The path of exaggeration and little white lies. To keep the spotlight shining on them, Leos might embellish stories, inflate their accomplishments, or even take credit for other people's ideas. It's not always malicious though. Sometimes they just get so caught up in their own hype that they start to believe their own lies. I remember this one time I was hanging out with this Leo acquaintance and they were telling this story about how they met Beyonce. They went into so much detail about their conversation, what Beyonce was wearing, the whole 9 yards, and I was like, damn, that's crazy. But then later I found out that they'd actually just seen her across the street. Leos, they just want to entertain you, you know? They want you to think they're the most interesting person in the world. And hey, sometimes they are, but just remember everything they say should be taken with a grain of salt or maybe a whole shaker. Chapter 3. Scorpio, the Truth Protector. Okay, let's get real for a second. We're about to dive into the deep end with Scorpios, the mysterious and intense creatures of the zodiac. Ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation and the underworld, Scorpios are all about secrets, power, and control. They're like the FBI agents of the zodiac, always watching, observing, and gathering information. Now, Scorpios aren't necessarily liars in the traditional sense. They're not out here making up stories for fun, but they are masters of deception. They know how to manipulate situations to their advantage, and they're not afraid to bend the truth to protect themselves or their loved ones. Scorpios are incredibly private people, and they guard their inner world fiercely. They don't trust easily, and they're always looking for signs of betrayal. So, if they sense that you're getting too close or asking too many questions, they might just shut you out completely. Or worse, they might feed you a carefully constructed web of lies to throw you off their scent. I used to date this Scorpio, right? And let me tell you, it was like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. He was so secretive and evasive that I never knew if he was telling me the truth or just what he wanted me to hear. It was exhausting, and also kind of exhilarating, not gonna lie. So, yeah, Scorpios are a complex bunch. They're not always lying, but they're not always telling the truth either. They're somewhere in between, operating in the shadows, pulling the strings. Just be careful not to get tangled up in their web. Chapter 4. Sagittarius, the master of tall tales. Hold on to your hats, because we're about to embark on a wild ride with Sagittarius, the free-spirited adventurers of the Zodiac. Ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, luck, and higher learning, Sagittarians are all about exploring new horizons, both physically and mentally. They're the philosophers, the travelers, the storytellers of the Zodiac. Now, Sagittarians don't necessarily set out to deceive people. In fact, they're usually pretty upfront about their intentions. But they do have a tendency to embellish the truth, sometimes to the point of absurdity. They're like that friend who comes back from vacation with these crazy stories about meeting a shaman in the Amazon or swimming with dolphins in the Bahamas, and you're like, okay, that's cool, but are you sure you didn't just dream that? The thing is, Sagittarians are natural-born storytellers. They have a way with words, and they love to entertain. They're also eternal optimists, and they believe that life is an adventure meant to be lived to the fullest. So if they have to stretch the truth a little bit to make their stories more exciting, well, they don't see the harm in that. I knew this Sagittarius girl in college, right? And she was always telling these wild stories about her weekend adventures. Like one time she swore she went skydiving with Richard Branson, and I was like, girl, come on, Richard Branson, but she was so convincing and she had this glint in her eye that I almost believed her. So, yeah, Sagittarians are full of surprises. They're fun-loving, adventurous, and they definitely know how to spin a yarn. Just remember, their stories are best enjoyed with a healthy dose of skepticism. Chapter 5, Pisces, the Dreamy Illusionist. Last but not least, we have Pisces, the dreamy and ethereal creatures of the Zodiac. Ruled by Neptune, the planet of dreams, illusions, and spirituality, Pisces are deeply intuitive, compassionate, and often lost in their own little world. They're the artists, the poets, the mystics of the Zodiac. Now, Pisces aren't malicious liars. In fact, they often lie to protect other people's feelings or to avoid conflict. They're so empathetic that they can't bear to see anyone upset, so they might tell a little white lie to smooth things over or to make someone feel better. But sometimes, Pisces lies are less about protecting others and more about protecting themselves. They're incredibly sensitive souls, and they can be easily hurt by criticism or rejection. So they might create a fantasy world where everything is perfect and beautiful, and they might retreat into that world when reality gets too harsh. I had this Pisces roommate once, right? And she was the sweetest, most gentle person I'd ever met. But she was also a little bit out there, like, she would tell these elaborate stories about her past lives as a princess or a mermaid, and she would swear up and down that she could talk to animals. And part of me wanted to be like, girl, are you for real? But she was so sincere and her stories were so magical that I couldn't help but get swept up in them. So, yeah, Pisces can be a little bit slippery with the truth, but it's usually because they're trying to protect themselves or others from the harsh realities of the world. They're just trying to create a little bit of magic and beauty in their lives, and who are we to judge? No one is perfect, and sometimes a little dishonesty is part of human nature. But by understanding your zodiac traits and how they influence your actions, you can grow and work toward becoming your most authentic self. Thanks for watching. Which zodiac sign do you think is the biggest liar? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology insights.